Check. Yo. What up? It's the SDR Podcast, episode 2. It's good to be here. It's good to see you. Audioli. First of all, let me talk about something real quick. 2 things I don't want you to get used to on this podcast. Number 1 is me talking about celebrities that don't care about me. And number 2, I don't want you to get used to me apologizing for things I say, especially if they're my opinion. But I am going to apologize for how I talked about Kanye West last week. I'm not taking back anything I said about him, but I am taking back how I said it because I was a little clumsy and just not very sensitive on a few subjects of, racism and mental health and stuff like that. And it maybe didn't come off the right way. So I want to apologize for the way I said what I said about Kanye last week. That's it. Done. Never talking about Kanye ever again. What's up, everybody? How are you? You doing all right? You doing good? Welcome to the SDR Podcast, episode 2. Man, I named this the SDR Podcast. I'm Sean Dominic Reedy. And SDR, that's how that, and definitely thought nobody would use SDR as something for a show or podcast, whatever. I look up SDR Podcast the day freaking my show comes out, and there's another show called the SDR Show, and it stands for Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. And I'm like, oh my God, my initials have stood for sex, drugs, and rock and roll this whole time. God, that is just unfortunate. And I definitely never thought that there would be another SDR show. And so, man, I don't know if we're going to have to change our name later on. I don't know if they're big enough. But maybe we should just get the folks from the SDR show on the SDR podcast and we can hash it out and talk about it. So that's goofy. But, we're going to talk about the Brent Penny, Matty Razuk, Evan Jarvik show I did a little bit a while ago. We're going to talk about Days N Daze. I have a special guest today, Stevie Ray, rapper Stevie Ray from San Francisco. We had a little phone conversation the other day. It's going to be a good listen, man. So let's talk about this show from Resonator Sunday that I told you was going to be a sleeper show. I knew that because it was last minute, not a lot of people would show up, but it would be the most gorgeous and beautiful, intimate show ever. And it was. It really was. Yeah, so we had a small little group there, and it was cool. Like, everyone kind of respectively brought out a couple people. And it's one of those moments as a performer where, like, you really kind of feel yourself being tested as to what you can handle. It's like, okay, well, I'm used to people yelling, screaming, or drinking a whole bunch, but now it's just a bunch of sober people, and there's 15 of them standing in this big room, and they're all staring at me. So, as a performer, you kind of learn how to deal with different situations. And what I typically do that I might need to work on is I kind of act like I'm performing for an entire stadium full of people, no matter where I'm performing. And it does not always translate super well, but I kind of have to, it doesn't really matter. Jarvix was amazing, as always. If you guys don't know who Jarvix is a musician, artist from Oklahoma City, but also runs the vlog, both Make Oklahoma Weirder. And a lot of folks will kind of halfway do a local vlog or blog or whatever. Evan goes all the way with it. Evan really takes it super seriously to cover artists in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Oklahoma, just in general. So Evan's really great. His music is really great too. I need to talk to him because his music is perfect for like a conceptual children's album. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it. It's really good. There was actually and I kind of just think of Jarvix as the person to just report on music from my state, but his music's actually really, really great. Like the songs he does. Matty Razook, amazing as always. Matty Razook, MADDIERAZOOK. If you've never heard Matty Razook, do yourself a favor. Stop this podcast. Stop everything you're doing and go listen to the EP Matty Razook put out called I'm Scared of Everything. She's also from Oklahoma, and she is just great. Matty Razook is the exact kind of artist you want in an intimate setting, and she is just incredible. I don't even know how to explain her music. It's dream pop, but it's just mostly keyboards and sometimes drum machine. And just beautiful songwriting on her end, and she killed it as always. And Brent Penny, my new friend from Minneapolis, Brent Penny, was great. Reminded me a lot of an old band some of you might know called Cassiotown for the Painfully Alone. Super great. Like, Brent was awesome. Once again, just like super solid songwriting. Like, I feel like everyone that night just really is great at songwriting. And so that was a really great show. I don't think anything really notable happened during my performance. I got requested to play a song called There's No Way. Did not know any of the lyrics, and I bombed that really harsh. So, so that's my story from the Brent Penny show. It's really great. Go check out Brent Penny. I got his vinyl. Gosh, I forget what his EP is called at the moment. But if you go on Spotify and Apple Music, whatever, look up Brent Penny, you'll find it. All of those artists I just named, like, I know I kind of stumbled through talking about it and everything, but every single person I perform with on that show is worth checking out. Choose the Right is the name of the Brent Penny album, EP. Brent Penny EP. So if you want to go check that out, go do that, man. Please, like, support those artists. Those are three people I would have no problem telling people to go support, and like, I feel like everybody would like that music, and they really deserve all the support in the world. So go check them out, please. So you folks might have seen, switching gears a little bit, you folks might have seen that I went to go see Leftover Crack and Days N Daze and another band called Cop Out in Oklahoma City. It was really sweet. It was even more sweet that Days N Daze, one of my very favorite bands, huge inspiration on my side project, Elderly Smackdown. And you know, if you listen to Elderly Smackdown and you're familiar with folk punk music on any level, that I reference the song Self-Destructive Anthems at the end of my song Brooding Breaking Up is the worst thing to ever happen to America. Which I know sounds like a bunch of words, but basically I referenced one of their songs in my songs. And when they performed that song that I reference at their show, Days N Daze I'm talking about, it was really great because they let me on stage to sing my verse that I wrote for Self-Destructive Anthems, and it was super awesome. And someone even got a video, and I was super stoked about it. I'll even play the audio from the video right here.
I stuck a knife inside my shoulder just the other day. I'll put your advice cause I do anything you say. Why do I do it? Why do I do this to myself?
And what you just heard was 15 seconds of me crying and screaming like a little girl on the inside while singing a song on the outside. Man, it was amazing. It was amazing. I've never actually seen Days N Daze before. Days N Daze is like I said, one of my very favorite bands, and they've been to Oklahoma City like 4 times in the last 3 or 4 years, and I've never been able to go see them. And so to go see them and be familiar with them, because my band Elderly Smackdown, which I told you, one of our first shows was opening up for Jesse from Days N Daze side project, Escape from the Zoo, at a house show in Oklahoma City. And so I knew Jesse from Days N Daze, and so meeting him was a really cool experience for me. when that show happened. And so when we talked a little bit, I told him everything, and he turns out he's a freaking fan of the Palmer Squares. Which is crazy because when we get to the Stevie Ray interview later, it just seems like my worlds are colliding constantly. But, and so I told him like, oh, well, my main thing I do is I do hip hop music and I rap. He's like, oh, really? Sweet. You should send me a link. And I was like, wow, Jesse from Days N Daze wants to hear my music. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. So I sent him the link, and he's been nothing but sweet and kind and supportive of S. Reedy music ever since. And someone from one of my very favorite bands, you know, listening to me is like just such a super great honor. And I was even able to go talk to Jesse after the show, even though he really was very, very tired and probably didn't want to talk to anybody. So much to the fact where he actually had to take a few days off of the tour that they're on right now. And but I got to go talk to him for a little bit, and he was just nothing but sweet and kind and amazing. And Days N Daze is just some of the best people I've gotten to meet in my time doing music. And me and Jesse had a really great conversation, and it really means a lot to be supported by someone that I really look up to. And so yeah, that was really amazing. The Days N Daze show was incredible. Aside from being able to go on stage, there was another band on there called Cop Out. They stylized their band Cop/Out. And they were really great too. If you're into Pennywise or Descendants or bands like that, they're like a queer, commie, punk rock band. That's super great. And Leftover Crack was amazing too. They're one of the few bands they're one of the few punk rock bands that I've seen like 15 years after their prime, so to speak, but haven't lost like a bit of energy at all. I've seen a lot of punk rock shows this year and last year where the little older acts just kind of get up there and they suck, for the lack of a better word. So Leftover Crack was amazing. Days N Daze was incredible. That was a whole amazing experience that I finally got to do. Finally got to see one of my favorite bands. So that was really amazing. I want to thank Jesse and Days N Daze once again for that amazing time. All right, let's get to the part a lot of you were waiting for the whole time. Stevie Ray Interview, man. Stevie Ray is a San Francisco hip-hop artist from San Francisco who is a hip-hop artist who is also from San Francisco. And what's funny is that I was actually saying that until I realized that I was looping back around multiple times, and then I tried to make a joke out of it. I'm trash at podcasting, man. One day I'm going to get good at this. By episode 20, I better be good at this podcasting thing, or I'm going to be upset. But I don't want to say too much about it because Stevie Ray really goes into a lot here. It's a really great interview, man. It's a great listen. I'm gonna switch it on over to that real quick. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Everybody, it's the SDR Podcast, and we got my first guest, someone I'm a real big fan of, homie from San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Stevie Ray, what's going on, man? How you doing?
What's going on, brother? How you doing today?
I'm doing not bad. I was actually taking a walk listening to your album earlier.
I appreciate the listen.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So tell me, you just got off tour, fresh off. Okay, so if you don't know Stevie Ray, he's fresh off tour. Went on tour with the Palmer Squares, correct?
Indeed, yes.
Yeah, and got a brand new album out right now called Free, which I played Leave It On my last podcast, was the outro music for that, so I thought it'd be great to interview. How was how did the tour go? Was it great?
The tour was awesome, man. It was a really good time. I love traveling with the Squares. They're good dudes. And I love getting out on the road and meeting the people, and just, there's nothing I'd rather be doing than playing music.
Hell yeah. Has anyone ever, and I hate that this is a corny question, but I gotta ask it. Because I just know how stupid people can be. Has anyone ever showed up to one of your shows and just been super pissed off it was not a Stevie Ray Vaughan show?
Well, I mean, Stevie Ray Vaughan died in 1990, so I would hope that any Stevie Ray Vaughan fans would know that that's not a possibility.
So that's never happened?
No.
Anything
but
close
there
like
have
that?
been, I get lots of comments, and there was one show on this tour in Philadelphia, I believe it was, where they pulled our artist bios off of bands in town or something like that. And they pulled Stevie Ray Vaughan's bio, and they had a picture of Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I had to email them. I was like, just so you know, I'm not the dead legendary blues guitarist Stevie Ray Vaughan. But my name is Stevie Ray Vargo, and I'm named after Stevie Ray Vaughan. So I have a big picture of him over my bed, and I used to play the guitar as a kid, so he was an idol of mine growing up my whole life.
Yeah, that's exactly the story I was wanting to hear. How has the reception been on the new album so far?
It's been great. It's been a really positive experience. This is definitely some of the most personal music that I've shared, and I think the connection has been on sort of a deeper level. So it's been really interesting getting to I get so many messages from fans that are so heartfelt, and it's been a much more in-depth connection with my fan base this time around, which has been a really cool experience. It can be at times exhausting, to be frank, just because people contact me with so many personal stories and so much heartfelt emotion, and some days it's I'm exhausted, or I'm hungover, or I'm stressed out, and I get 10 messages from people, and I'm sometimes I don't have the bandwidth to respond to everybody. I'm trying to figure that out a little bit, but it's been really special, man. It's cool just to have my music travel as far as it has. I'm getting a lot of love in Germany and England and stuff. It's been really exciting.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, I mean, you can honestly chalk me up as one of the people who it has touched personally. It really is a great record, and what I really love about it lyrically is that you're so, how do I say this? You're so straightforward about what you're talking about, but you still can say it in a poetic and tasteful way. It can be poetic without being cryptic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that something you do intentionally, or is that just naturally just how you write?
I think it's kind of a combination of the two. With this album, I did a lot of work to get prepared for the album, almost like method acting. I spent 4 or 5 months just studying the concepts and doing a lot of work on myself, and really doing kind of a lot of exploration of the things that have happened to me in my life, and the way that the way that I've resulted as a person because of them. And I really wanted to, I was saying to my good friend Cassidy at some point when I was preparing for the album, that I wanted to get so inundated in the ideas in the album that I didn't have to think or build constructs. I could just speak, and everything that I would say would be pertinent to the concept of the album. I wanted to be fully immersed in it. And so I think as a result, the album comes out pretty straightforward, because I wrote a lot of it very fast, and it wasn't I didn't spend a lot of time thinking of really poetic phrasings or metaphors or anything. I kind of just we would sit in the studio, me and my producer Andre, and he would make a beat, and the first thing that came to mind, I would just try and pour it right out. So it definitely, I think it was part of my plan to just be able to be this character, and as a result, a lot of the things that I said came out very literally.
Yeah, that's really awesome, man. That's something I've struggled as an artist, is I get really caught up in metaphors and imagery and stuff like that. And sometimes I think I can get really lost in that, to even to the point where I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the times I've interviewed a lot of different people for different kind of outlets. This is my first interview for this podcast, but a lot of the times what I try to do is I'll pick out a little more cryptic lyric that I try to have them explain. But when I was listening to your album, today, and for the last, how long has it been out? A couple weeks?
Yeah, 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yeah, just listening to it, I was I really didn't have anything. I was man, this is all really just good, straightforward life advice and anecdotes. But I did want to ask about one thing, if there is even an answer. Who was it that told you that the difference between 80% and 100% was 100%?
That was my dear friend Christian Alfonso. He's a brilliant, brilliant man. And a true revolutionary. He's someone I look up to a lot, and someone who's inspired my worldview and sort of my my understanding of global politics and And also, like my understanding of procedures and the way that things can get done, and the sort of how to hold yourself accountable and how to push yourself to a certain limit. And that was a little kind of relic that he gave me. There was like a year period where we were gym partners, and we got in really good shape together because we just both had this way of challenging each other.
Yeah.
And that was one of the many sort of isms that we used in the gym to get that extra, to finish. That last 20% is just as hard as getting to the 80%.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that there was a few sort of isms that we had for the gym that kind of translated to all facets of life that I've taken with me on my journey.
Yeah. No, and that's like part of what I was talking about, just your straightforward anecdotals of life. Like, it can kind of seem almost too straightforward to the point where it just seems like a poster in a gym, but like the way you deliver it and the production behind it is like super great, and I really love like the production on the record. It's a lot of guitars, a lot of like moody, like kind of grandiose production, but I feel like you still kind of do a lot with a little. Who does most of the? Do you do any of the production, or who does the production on your record? On this one particularly.
On this album, it was produced entirely by Andre Paxton.
Okay, cool.
Who's a childhood friend of mine, and a brilliant guitar player, and we definitely made it an intentional choice to use his guitar to sort of color the album.
Yeah, so that's all live guitar, no samples. Like that's his guitar playing, huh?
Yeah, I think the piano on Came and Went was sampled, but he played everything else. I was very happy with how it resulted, but I think the album is very cohesive as far as sort of like the color palette and the emotions and the feelings that come with it. Like, it feels like a consistent landscape. And I was very grateful to him because he was able to use, I think, like the sound of his guitar and sort of the mood of his guitar playing to paint a pretty consistent picture throughout the album.
Yeah, that's what makes it really great, is how cohesive it is. I do agree. So, generic question, what's your favorite song off the record? Do you have one?
I don't know, man. It changes all the time.
I feel you.
I haven't listened to it in a little bit just because I've been kind of trying to move away from it. Just to kind of find some new creative spaces and not to get stuck. But
yeah.
On the like, I guess Feeling Old is probably the one that means the most to me, just because I had that song, or the concept of that song, and some of the music for that song would for many years, and it was sort of like, I just never felt like I was in a place where I had the means or the platform to put that song out in the way that I wanted to. And then when Andre and I linked to make this album, I showed him like this old shell of this song that I'd had sitting on my Google Drive forever, and he started playing that guitar lick, and it really came to life again, and it ended up being like the best version of the song to date. So it was very special to me that, like, I think that was maybe 2015, 2016 when I wrote that, and I think that was sort of the genesis of this character and this idea for me musically, but it took me a long time to get there as a person, even after I kind of had some of the skills to write this kind of music. So for it to come to fruition and for it to be the lead single and for it to do as well as it did was really special. But I think, like, if I were to listen to the album today, the song that I kind of resonate with the most is Waist Up, the first song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really love, God, I kind of feel you, because my favorite song off that record changes every time I listen to it too. But for some reason, man, the Road interlude is one I do go back to a lot, funny enough. Have you gotten like a positive reception from that track particularly? Because I know it's like an interlude track where it's like, but I know I'm kind of a poet first and foremost, and so I really love that interlude. Just personally, just aside from that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
I'm really glad. I mean, I haven't. You're the first person, I think, to say something to me about it.
That's funny.
But I mean, it does, like, I was surprised. I figured that like the streaming numbers on that song would be very low, just because like after you hear an interlude once, a lot of times it's gonna get skipped, you know?
Yeah. Well, the other great thing about your record though is that it's really short, and it's like, you know, you can just, it's real easy front to back listen too. So that's probably part of it.
That was definitely my intention with the record. I had a goal for it to be under 30 minutes. Because I really wanted it to be, I know that like in this day and age, attention is can be a scarce resource. There's such an abundance of things, and you can only pay attention to so many things. So I wanted to make it an unintimidating listen, and I wanted it to be something where people could listen to it from the front to the back and want to start it over again. You know what actually was one of the big things that informed that decision for me or inspired that was Vince Staples' last album, FM.
Yeah.
Was like 28 minutes or something. And they did the radio interview interludes, and it just, and the first like few times I listened to it, it would finish and it would loop around to the beginning, and I'd be like, yeah, let's do it again. Interestingly enough, another band that taught me about that, and I know that the first part of our conversation wasn't recorded, so the callback isn't going to translate to the podcast, but Walter, etc. I used to love listening to their albums because all their songs were so short and sweet, and their albums would be like 5 or 8 songs, and I would always want more, and I would just like after every album I'd listen to it like on loop forever and be like, when is the next one coming out? And I think nowadays, because I try my best to listen to everything that comes out, and it's such a tall order, and especially like nowadays, the like in this streaming format, people are just putting out like 25, 28 song like marathon albums just to get more streams.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, I definitely wanted it to be digestible, and I wanted to encourage people to consume it front to back.
Yeah. No, I'm actually the exact same way, because all my records are less than 30 minutes as well. And that comes from from a big part of me that I think artists need to say what they have to say and dip out, you know what I mean? And if it resonates with people, they'll replay it. And Walter, etc. was a big part of that for me too, and a lot of the folk punk bands that I grew up listening to. And I'm glad you called back to that, because as a music dork and as a fan of both of you guys, I want to know 2 things: how you ended up meeting Walter, etc. / Walter Mitty's Makeshift Orchestra, how that connection happened, and apparently you guys had a show at a sex shop that I would like you to go into detail about.
Yeah. Let's see. I met them in 2010 or.
Oh, so the genesis, kind of the beginning of everything, huh?
I lived in San Luis Obispo, and we're all going to school out there at the time. I went to junior college for about a semester before I fucked it all up. But I was out there, living out there, and they, Walter, Dustin, and Milk, and Chris kind of formed that band. Like they all lived in like dorms together, and then they ended up getting a place at like another apartment complex called like Cedar Creek or something, I forget. But they like started playing at that time. And I remember they played like a house show where they like stood on the couch because there was no stage. But it was like I was kind of just around for the genesis of that, and had known them like just from school. Before that, and then we kind of both, like all of us, continued on a journey, like a life in musicianship, and so the relationship kind of just stayed over time.
That's really tight, man. That's really cool. I've just been a big fan of them for years, and it's really cool knowing someone that's known them since the genesis of what they were doing. That's really cool. That's before they even put out Overwhelmed and Underdressed. That's funny. I'm gonna have to get Dustin on the podcast soon. So you guys had a show at a sex shop?
We didn't.
At a sex store?
They did. I was
they
an
did.
attendee of that show. We played one show with them at like a house in like South San Francisco or Daly City or something. But I did go see. They played at like it was like a porn store in San Jose, and they played in like the back, like in like the inventory section.
That is so crazy. That's my bad. I misunderstood that. I thought you guys
there being like sex toys or anything. I think it was just like porno magazines and DVDs.
Oh, I got you. Okay. See, I misunderstood. I thought you were on that show, but that's still funny. Well, we can go ahead and wrap it up. Is there anything you're doing in the future that we need to look out for? I know you have some music videos coming out, right?
Yeah, I got some music videos for the project coming, and I got a Google Drive full of good songs, so I'm trying to figure out what the next move is, but I spent a lot of time working towards this, and kind of, like, all my projects just kind of closed, and I kind of have a clean slate, so I'm kind of basking in the idea of being able to do whatever I want and go in whatever direction I want, so I'm kind of waiting for the inspiration to fill that void as opposed to, like, rushing to make my next move, but yeah, definitely, I got a couple of videos for the project. I think I'd like to make one more based on kind of what people are responding to and what people want to see, and then and then just like bunker down and create through the winter and get ready for the next wave.
Hell yeah, man. Well, the album is called Free. This has been Stevie Ray. What are your Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything?
Everything is at callmestevieray. So Instagram, Twitter at callmestevieray, Facebook.com/callmestevieray. YouTube channel is callmestevieray. That's where you find me. Callmestevieray.com. It's all there.
All right. Thank you, Stevie Ray, for being on. You've been a great first guest, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the time, and keep in touch, brother.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you. Hell yeah, man. What a guy. What a guy Stevie Ray is. If you guys have not checked out his album Free, please go listen to it. It's really amazing, and it was really an honor to have Stevie Ray on the show, so booyah, baby. That's the show this week. Thank you all for tuning into the second episode. I appreciate you guys listening to me learn how to podcast. A little while ago, a few years ago, I consider myself really good at interviewing people. And so I thought with Stevie, I could just jump right back into that. I'm a little rusty. I'm a little rusty at this podcast thing too, but I appreciate every single one of you for listening to me and kind of putting up with it. I mean, not that it's, if it were bad, I wouldn't put it out. But, I appreciate you guys just sticking with me through learning, working out all the kinks. That's the show today. Let me go through some upcoming shows real quick because I have a lot in Oklahoma. Once again, November 13th is S3D, Amon and the Creatures and Human Host and the American Idol lady, what's her name? Alma Russ at the Red Brick Bar. The very next day at the Red Brick Bar, November 14th, is Giant Stride Antique Gardens with My Side Project, Elderly Smackdown. Elderly Smackdown also has a show November 22nd at with Young Readers and Jake Nordstrat, who I didn't talk about Jake Nordstrat last week, and I'm probably not going to talk about him this week either, but I'm going to talk about him really soon because he's a really great singer-songwriter who travels and literally lives in mountains and stuff. That's November 22nd, Norman, Oklahoma, at Michelangelo's Coffee and Wine. Let me see here. I know I have a few more shows. Yes, November 23rd in Oklahoma City at a Good Time Daiquiri Bar. I've never heard of it. I'm opening up for a guy from Nebraska who goes by the name Kenny Bars. I'm going to be with L Smooth and a few other folks. So that's going to be a fun show. And then I'm going to wait to announce my December shows. But I think I'm going to go on a little tour in December. I'm not sure yet. But I got two really big shows that I'm really, really excited to share with you folks. So be on the lookout for all that. Come out to a show if you can. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for listening to the second episode of the SDR Podcast. We are going to end this episode with a brand new song from a Tulsa band called Cliffdiver. If you have not heard of Cliffdiver and you live in Oklahoma, you need to wake the frick up because this band is just really freaking great. And I swear on my life, this might coming close. Let me tell you something. This might be the next band to break out of Oklahoma. Straight up. They're really great. There's a lot of bands I feel like could break out Oklahoma, but Cliffdiver is at the top of that list. Dead serious. So this is their new song, Are You Still Seeing Greg, the Orthodontist? And it's coming off their EP that'll be out in just a week or so. So take it away, Cliffdiver. Thank you for listening to the episode today. I love you so much. Bye-bye.